Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I said welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy Ruther and Joe Praino. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host, Los Angeles, California, Joey No Chill Praino.
Hello, Andy.
Morning.
Morning.
What's going on, man? What's new? What was the weekend?
Weekend was fun. Kind of. Thursday, obviously left early to go down to the desert. That's why we did a podcast last Wednesday. Laz and I played golf on our way to Palm Springs on Thursday in Riverside. It was hella hot. We got caught behind some yo fools playing a golf tournament. We almost had a fight in the parking lot. We went on to Palm Springs.
Wait.
It's a long story. I don't even want to really we ended up playing like a 5-hour round, and by the end of the round, we actually jumped the group in front of us. And I think the group in front of us smartly realized that there was no one behind us. It was like 100-something degrees in Riverside, so it's like if you don't get out there by 9 a.m. or whatever, you're just gonna be sweltering. We didn't tee off till 10:20. There's literally no one behind us. I think the group in front of us realized that and was just like, we're not in any rush. Let's let these guys go, and we can take our sweet-ass time. We could hit 2 balls, whatever. So we passed them because we had places to go, we had people to see. So then we realized why they were taking so long is the group in front of them was just disasters in some sort of golf tournament, but these guys could not play golf at all. And I'm a guy who has a high tolerance for patience because I am relatively new to the game. So it's like if you suck, whatever, I always say just suck faster. But these guys were like taking their sweet ass time. And then they get on this last hole. And there's just like the whole tournament is like for some reason like waiting on the 18th green. And then we're like up above, like we hit up on them. And then all of a sudden they're on the green. And the guys who are in the tournament are like, all right, guys, just pick up your balls. Like, you guys stink. Like, let these guys finish. And I was like, yeah, let us finish. And they were like, all right, fucker, we'll fucking see you in the parking lot, bro. Like, fuck you.
Wait a second.
And
So
then
they
they
were trying
started, and then they refused to get off the hole. So then they're on the green, and I took out 8 balls out of my fucking bag and just threw them down and just started firing balls at the green, just like dropping fucking Oppenheimers on them.
This is like a Happy Gilmore 2.
Yeah. So then, of course, we get off. And we're like riding through the parking lot, and they didn't say shit to us.
How many of them were there?
4. I mean, it's a foursome.
Yeah.
And it was just me and Laz. And then we just like rolled by, riding dirty in our golf cart after, just like staring them down like we were going to do a drive-by. And we were like, we were literally waiting for them to say something. And they didn't say shit.
Anybody wearing any Raiders gear?
I mean, they were basically all wearing Raiders gear. Like, I didn't see any specific Raiders logos, but a lot of flat brim hats. A lot of black, 105 degrees, just playing in all black.
All
right, fool, we'll see you in the parking lot, fool.
Dude, it truly is amazing with the Raiders and like Mexican dudes love the Raiders. A guy the other day at Isla's daycare Mexican dude dropped off his daughter, gets in his car. Dude, there's a giant Raiders vanity plate. And I was like, dude, it's amazing. We're in Cincinnati, Ohio.
I say that in my joke. I'm like, no matter where you are, Mexicans are Raiders fans. And I'm always like, you could be in Cincinnati, Ohio.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Kick open the door to an Applebee's kitchen. There's a dude in there in a Bo Jackson jersey. It's like, yo, fool. Gruden, bro. It's our year, bro.
Dude, it's amazing.
And what's funny is we did skip ahead. We did the casino on Friday night. And it's like, also Mexicans, my favorite audience members ever And like some of my, and it's part of my joke is like my favorite people, truly, hardest working, hardest partying people there are. But like also these dudes on the golf course were just like at some point, I mean, you've been playing golf for 6 hours. This is supposed to take 4. Like at some point you got to pick it up and call it a day.
They're probably just bombed, right?
Probably. So then we went from there down to Palm Springs. Laz and I played a match, and it was for the Tiki Bar tab. So we went down to the Tiki Bar. Tab was on me. I lost the match. And then we got up the next day, played golf in way too hot weather in Palm Springs. And my round was horrific because it was just too hot. Couldn't hit a golf ball.
What is it like?
Like 115?
Yeah.
Like ridiculous. The dudes who were going out on the golf course, like, okay, have fun out there, stay in the shade, drink water, don't die. We're not coming to get you.
That's hot, man.
Yeah. And then like I was having a knee issue, like playing golf both days. I was swimming on Wednesday before we did the podcast, and something like kind of popped in my bad knee. And then it was a little janky while we were golfing. It was making golfing, definitely more difficult. Came back on Saturday and I was like, okay, I'll go for a swim. Swim always makes my knee feel better. Nope. Popped again in the pool. I think I'm now learning all about breaststroker's knee, which I didn't know was a thing as a guy who was a fucking junior Olympic breaststroker. When I would swim breaststroke practices for 2 hours at a time. Never heard of breaststroke knee. Now as a 40-year-old man.
Is that like the equivalent of tennis elbow?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it can affect your MCL area. And I think I did that. My fucking knee's super swollen.
Funny, I'll do breaststroke because since I've dislocated my left shoulder 3 times, and
way easier on your shoulder for
sure.
Yeah.
So like when I'm doing freestyle, at a certain point, I like have to go to breaststroke to kind of because those ligaments tore as well. Well, I think that's a good segue to say, fingers crossed, we do have a member of the Cincinnati Bengals joining us in the next.
Another guy who had a severe knee injury, Joe Burrow. No, it's not him, right?
No, we do not have Burrow on the show.
We saw the famous and fantastic friend of the show, DJ Sizzle, and he was like, "Are you guys having Joe Burrow on?" And I was like, "Nah, I was just fucking with people because I thought Randy Ruther's head would explode. They'd find his cat eating small bits of his brain if we thought we had Joe Burrow on the show."
I don't think Burrow doesn't do too much press. I don't think. He's in the middle of contract negotiations. They're keeping it really tight-lipped. I assume it'll get done before the season starts, like he reported.
Yeah.
And I saw Justin Herbert said he's not sure if he's 100% going to report.
Wow.
Same situation, obviously. But we have a kind of a fun local story here, and I think it'd be great for the show as well. We have Bengals punter Drue Chrisman joining us, and it's kind of an interesting story. It is interesting. He started doing DoorDash delivery on a bicycle in downtown Cincinnati in June for a leg workout. I mean, it's crazy. Like, dude, you play professional football. Obviously, he's a punter, so he wants to get the leg workout, and he doesn't keep the money, which is even cooler. So he takes the earnings he gets from DoorDash, and he gives it to homeless people he sees in downtown, people in need. He delivers food to them, and he started posting all this on social. And I connected with him through Gold Star. I had tweeted at him, and then Gold Star donated to an event at a halfway house. And I met him a few weeks ago. We hung out for a while, and I was like, dude, come do my show. This is pretty interesting. Come on Dirty Sports.
We've had some of the foremost punters in the NFL on our show.
Yeah, him and Pat McAfee.
Exactly.
It is interesting that we have another punter.
I just had a throwback punter story the other day with Mikey. Mikey and I were discussing when he made Steve Weatherford famous. Remember that?
Dude, he was ripped.
Yeah. Listen, he was a ripped dude, no doubt about it. But what was the most amazing thing about that story is that I took the picture of those guys, And back in the old school, I threw like one of the old school Instagram filters on it, and it definitely made him look just extra cut. And then that went bananas on the internet. And I was like, oh, there's a little bit of that where it's just like, you know, the shadows of the Instagram filter really cut him up.
Wait, so no one knew how ripped he was?
No one knew that he was just like jacked, which I think he's become like a fitness guy. I also think he might have gone off the deep end a little bit. I stopped following him years ago because like I don't follow Jesus freaks basically. But yeah, but apparently, and I didn't know this, Mikey and I were refreshing this. Apparently, Mikey went back to camp like the next year, and Weatherford like accused him of trying to like get rich off it. He's like, how does one even get rich off a picture of a punter's abs, dude? Like, I didn't even put it on social media. My brother did.
That's hilarious.
And then somebody had to be like, nah, dude, he's not. That's Danny's friend.
How could,
dude? Don't even get me started.
I was like, yeah, how could he become rich off him?
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense. How big of like a Giants fan is your brother,
Mikey,
compared to you?
I mean, yeah, I'd say pretty equal. You know, I think life gets in the way a little bit more for him in terms of like whatever. Like, you know, I try to go to a couple games a year. He's in New York, and I think maybe he goes to one. And it's like, oh, you know, getting the kids down there and blah, 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 and the thing. And then we got football on Saturdays and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, I'm like, we going to San Francisco this year? We're going to New Orleans? We're going to blah, 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 which we are, obviously. We're going to New Orleans, and we're going to Vegas. You and I, the royal we,
December 16th,
are absolutely going to New Orleans.
There's rumors, and I don't know if we can make this happen. There's rumors that Brittany might be trying to come down to New Orleans.
Wow. I think that'll be more, honestly, that might sell more New Orleans tickets than the podcast or the football game or the stand-up show. I think the first look, this is like when Brad and Angelina sell their baby. I think that might get more dirt balls, just like to confirm, just like touch her face. It's like, is she real?
Well, I thought about it. Obviously, like you're talking about with your brother, it's a little harder when you have kids, but she had said that, and I was like, yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. She loves New Orleans. She's been there, of course. So she's like, it'd be great to go. And I said, well, let's see what your schedule is like. Talk to your people at Walgreens, and we should make it happen. Is a part of me thinking, do we just get married down in New Orleans? Maybe.
Oh my God, 1,000th episode.
Maybe.
Wedding?
Maybe.
I love this.
Because she technically, you know, I'll give her credit. She's not like, hey, I need a big church wedding.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, man.
Let's just tie the knot somewhere.
Yeah, like, I don't really care about that. So, not that we would do it. Why am I picturing
you guys getting married on a streetcar full of dirt balls that's like rolling down the rails with Ed Orgeron as the fucking the priest? You take a be your wife on this there streetcar.
Did you see the video of, I'm sure you saw it.
Oh, him like hanging out at the beach?
Yeah, him like holding the hand. Ed looks like pretty good for his age, right?
Well,
like,
I gotta say, the one thing about the thing that was most impressive is how about Ed's tan?
Oh yeah.
I mean, dude, I've been working my tan this year. I've been doing resort pass, like, you know, you can get seats at a pool. We've been doing like a LA pool tour the last few weeks, plus Palm Springs, plus all this stuff. And man, I mean, I'm feeling pretty bronzed, but Ed-O, I think he might be using old school Hawaiian tropics.
Where yeah, dude, this is I'm trying to let's watch this. No, this is, why isn't it playing? I saw a lot of the Gym Tan Laundry captions about it. Like, he looked almost Jersey Shore-esque, and he's with some woman, like big old fake boobs, and He's he's talking to these girls. He's hilarious. Like dude, talk about somebody who he's done this almost like career pivot. Dude, you went from like the Southern full Cajun talking lifelong travelman football coach to like you're like this ladies man and like ripped on the beach. Like
I love it for Coach Al.
Like we didn't see that happening, did we?
No.
Why is this not showing? I don't know. But anyway, we had so many dirtballs tag us in this. It's not I'm trying to get this stupid. Why is it not showing this?
So many dirtballs tagged us in it that I'm wondering if you're going through a whole process for nothing. They've all seen it.
Yeah, whatever. You guys have seen it. I'm not messing with it.
Basically, it looked like this, but he on the beach with no shirt on.
He's pretty ripped.
Yeah.
I think he just met that girl at a gas station.
Yeah. You want to come work out at the beach with me?
And the thing about Ed O is, like, they won a title, and he pretty much dropped his wife. Like, dude is, look, I don't know what was going on, but I know they were married, and then suddenly they're not married. Like, yeah. I think I could be wrong. I think they had been married for a while, but regardless, DirtBall, December 16th,
and now she lives in a house with Russell Wilson's wife and Tom Brady's baby mama and all the other football champs immediately dropped women.
I love that picture. You've seen the picture of draft day with Russell Wilson.
Oh my God. Yeah.
His ex making
yeah.
He looks so different there too. Like that was when he was full Berenstain Bear.
Yeah.
Like when he was drafted.
He was living in Wisconsin before that.
He was full Berenstain Bear. Is it Berenstain or Berenstein?
I think it's Stain.
Like a stain on your shirt. That's how you pronounce it.
I believe that's how it's spelled. I don't know how to pronounce it. I've never watched like the live action movie or anything.
I don't think they have one.
No, I don't think so.
Dude, those books were good growing up, man. That was a staple in the Ruther household. I don't know if it was a staple in the Praino household.
That wasn't a staple in the Praino household.
We had so many of those books. No, you guys didn't do those?
I mean, it was like around, but like it certainly wasn't not a staple in our home.
Oh, so many of those. So Drew's going to come on here in a few minutes, but I'm looking forward to talking a little more NFL because we got some big news today. Or not big news. We'll discuss the whole Commanders thing and Daniel Snyder, but big loss today for the Bills. Nyheim Hines. You see this?
Yeah. Got hit by a jet ski.
He was sitting stationary on a jet ski and was struck by another rider. Serious but non-life-threatening injuries. He will miss the entire season.
Wild.
Now they really queued up by saying he was stationary. I assume he was gonna ride though, right?
Yeah, or maybe he was between riding. Maybe he had stopped, like maybe he was. Essentially, they're just saying he didn't run into something or somebody. They ran into him.
But look, I'm not saying it's justified what happened, but like you're on a jet ski and the season's about to start.
It's a jet ski seems pretty safe.
Those things go fast, man.
I know those things, but we don't know that he was going fast. That's the equivalent of like, if you go fucking Henry Ruggs and you crash your car going 140, but he was in the parking lot of a supermarket and some guy ran into him going 140. You're like, oh, you were in your car.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I like no unnecessary risks to some point, but like, I don't know how experienced he is with the stuff. I don't know where he was. I don't know. Was he in Cancun and him and his boys were like doing a fucking drunken jet ski cruise? That seems a little more But again, I'm a defender of you're allowed to be on bodies of water while being on a football team. Doesn't mean your fucking team is cursed and you're the devil kind of thing. But
well, look, I'm not against guys doing stuff and having fun. I just, again, like, to me, it's a matter of like, you're your own business, right? If you're an NFL player, like, your body is your business. That's how you make money. If you're risking injuring yourself, then you basically are going to lose money. You're damaging your business. So I don't know. I see Drue's in the queue. He's walking around. I believe he's walking around. Oh, there he is. Looks like he's getting stationary. But you know what I'm saying, though, Praino? Like, I don't. And we'll ask Drue this. Like, I don't know what these guys have to sign, or if there are clauses in their contract. Like, I don't know how that's going to work with Nyheim.
I mean, again, I'm going to kind of repeat the same sentiment I already said. Like, you could be in your car and you could be doing reckless shit, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing? And you could obviously just be driving to work, and that's not a big deal. So to me, it's like, you know, if there was any sort of reckless behavior that led to this, of course you can be like, what were you thinking, man? But if the dude's just like, hey, man, it's summer, I've got literally 1 week before I've got to like not do anything but live in a weight room, I'm going to take the jet ski around the lake that I live on or something like that. I've done it 1,000 times, and some guy just runs into him. I'm not gonna be like, what the fuck were you thinking, bro?
Yeah, no, I feel you. All right, well, let's bring Drue on. Hopefully he's all set up, and we'll see how it's going. And we got Bengals punter Drue Chrisman. I just talked about it earlier in the show. Just met him a few weeks ago. Great dude. And we'll bring Drue on and see what he has to say about all this.
What's up, Andy and Joe? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Drue. Thanks for being here.
Of course. Yeah, this is going to be the setup. Carly, my 1-year-old, just decided to wake up, so we are on babysitting duty at the same time. It's
perfect.
Fun, isn't it?
Hey, man, like I told you, right? I think I told you I got a 5-month-old, so I get it.
Yeah. It's Mama's working out, so we'll see how good.
So I don't know if you could hear what we were just talking about the Nyheim Hines injury. I don't know if you saw it.
I caught a little bit of the back end of what you guys were talking about.
Have you been on a jet ski this offseason?
I have not.
Okay.
Not to my own personal choice. Like, I wish I could. I'm not gonna lie. Jet skis are a lot of fun, but obviously, turns out pretty dangerous as well. I don't know the extent of what happened. I just caught like a little blurb on Twitter. Maybe some guy hit him while he was stationary or something.
Yeah.
You never know. I mean, who knows what was going on? But that's the story that was told, and it's unfortunate. You never want to see that, especially, I'm sure the Bills it's a big blow to, that organization and obviously Nyheim's career. So it's unfortunate.
So like how do you handle stuff like that? Like, are you aware? Because obviously I was saying before, like, your body is basically your business. How much are you aware of what you put your body through or what you don't put your body through? Because your injury is how you make your livelihood if you can't use your legs.
For sure. I mean, I think you do have to have a reasonable amount of, avoiding dangerous activities like that. But at the same time too, I mean, you gotta live as well. I mean, I get it. It's just such a short time period you have this opportunity. But I know for myself personally, I got to this level of athletic ability and whatnot by doing a lot of different things. I played every sport I could growing up, and I think that made me really well-rounded. I played pickup basketball while I was in college. I think that we had a receiver recently on the Jets, Garrett Wilson. I don't know if you guys heard about an interview he had. He was talking about he played like pickup basketball in the offseason. A lot of people threw a fit about it, but like, that is what made him the special player he is. So it's like, yeah, you could tell him to not do that and, don't risk that injury or whatever. But like, a part of him feels like that's what made him got to this level. So you tell him to not do that, that might take away part of what makes him special. So I don't know. It's a tough call. I think you just got to know yourself, know your ability. And if it's something out of completely Nyheim's control where someone recklessly went and hit him. That's just unfortunate, I guess. I mean, you can get hurt driving into work. So
that's what I said. Well, Drue, Andy told me, your whole story and what you're up to there in Cincinnati the last few months. And so this will be a nice transition into you telling us all about that. But first things first, you are wearing a helmet while you're biking, right? You've got a helmet on during all these deliveries.
This is about as much protection. I guess I wear a GoPro too.
This is what we're talking about.
Break some kind of fall. I was gonna say, if anybody, I cannot give anybody criticism about doing something dangerous in the off season, because I have been jumping over curbs and in traffic. I was just in Chicago, running around through Chicago's traffic. So if anybody has put their body at risk this off season, it is me. And as far as I can tell, I'm still walking and ready to go to practice tomorrow. So maybe I got lucky, but at the same part of it, I feel like it's kind of helped me a little bit in this offseason as well with the extra workout that I've been getting in.
So I talked about it when we started our show, how, I mean, I think the whole thing you're doing is pretty phenomenal, not just from giving back, but also the concept of a professional football player delivering food on a bike and DoorDash. Where does this idea come to you? Like, hey, I'm going to start doing this. Were you just like, hey, this will be fun for social media, or just how does this come to fruition?
I don't know. I've done a lot of just kind of weird things in my life, just kind of things that just come to my head. And I'm just like, that sounds fun. Let me just do it. I mean, that's just kind of how I roll. I did that. I did that growing up. I did that in college. My thing in college was bottle flipping. So I think there's a little bit of a creative side to me that enjoys, making content or something of that fashion. But I just like to stay active as well. I mean, a lot of guys during this time, they go off on vacation, take one last little final breath. I've never felt comfortable just like sitting around and not doing anything. So I wanted to do something, and obviously it's turned into what it has. And it's gotten to the point now, it's not what I originally even started off from doing. I mean, now it's totally turned into a completely charitable kind of idea. When it originally started off as just a way to get some extra exercise. But I think being a punter as well gives me a little extra free time, and we're always a little quirky specialists. So we tend to get into weird things that most people would expect.
Why don't I show a video? And I had to pull the one of you dropping the bottles and the pizza. I had to show the funny one. So this is just a quick video, one. Right, of you door dashing, and I believe that this was probably a struggle this day.
Pick up for roofie. Great, thank you. I'm just gonna have to carry that. I had a feeling that was gonna happen. Holy smokes. Whew. Oh man. Oh no. I don't know how bad that is. Is it okay? Oh shoot.
Thank you for calling DoorDash. To continue in English, press 1.
Hi, Drew. How can I help?
Hi, we had an item spilled on delivery. You got it? Awesome. Sorry about that. Hope some of it was salvageable and you're not starving. Yep, have a good one.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I already canceled the order to the customer. Your payment for this one, $3.13.
Oh, I still get $3.13?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay, well, I'll take it.
Love it. Absolutely love it. So basically you're riding
Honestly,
around.
I mean, when you talk about Papa John's pizza, we're not like, it's not like we're ruining the most like high-end culinary piece. Like if you all of a sudden get free Papa John's and it's just smashed a little, I'll take that deal every time.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom one looked fine to me. It's just that top one got a little smashed. And hindsight's 2020. Probably should have just carried the pizza instead of dumping a 24-pack of water on it. Plenty of people pointed that out to me already. By far my most viral video I've made so far, and of course it's the one where I'm messing up. People still enjoy people in misery, I guess.
That's kind of similar with punters as well. Like you don't get a lot of punting highlight films. It's usually punters messing up, right?
Yeah, you kind of want to stay invisible in a way. You only really get noticed when you're not doing your job. I'd say,
and that's something I wanted to ask you. I always wonder with punters, like, obviously if you're on the field, things aren't going as well for the team as you'd like. It must be weird to suit up every Sunday and be like, I hope I don't even step on the field today. That's gotta be weird. Like, I hope I don't get to do my job.
Yeah, no, you hope you hold. So I'm a holder as well. It's kind of half the job. I hold for the field goal kicker. So you hope you are holding the ball a lot more than you are punting it. And luckily, fortunately, in my teams that I've been on, that has been the case. I mean, Ohio State, we had a lot of success, and the last 2 years of the Bengals have been the most successful years in franchise history. So I've been fortunate to not have as much of a workload as other punters at this position. So
what's more nerve-wracking, when you've got to hold for a big field goal, or when you've got to, when you're like, okay, this punt, we really need to pin them down here. This is like a, game-winning drive potentially coming up. Which one do you go out on the field like a little bit more nervous about?
I hate to say the word nervous. I mean, you never want to be nervous. In a way, I mean, it really happens so fast. I mean, you're out there for like, it feels like for like 3 seconds. Sometimes I come back off the field, like I feel like I just blacked out, and like someone's got to tell me what just happened. I mean, just literally, it just happens so fast. You go out there, do your job, and you get back off the field. I'm probably punting. I feel like there's a little bit more error. I've done holding so many times now, I could almost do it in my sleep. But yeah, I mean, everything's just to the finest detail, and we're operating in under, 1.5 seconds. So, as long as everything's cleanly, kind of muscle memory takes over at that point. But yeah, I wouldn't ever say like I'm really nervous, because you can't be. I mean, if you're nervous, something's gonna go. You go out there thinking like, I hope I don't mess this up. What happens? You mess it up. So it's like. The
holder is like the punter, where like you almost don't even know the guy who's holding's name unless something goes wrong. But if you look back on like a guy like Tony Romo's career, like all the big plays and all the interceptions he threw or touchdowns he threw, like that's the moment that's probably one of his defining career moments, is the botched hold.
Yeah, no, that's unfortunate. Kind of glad it happened to a quarterback. Then
yeah,
we don't get to go back out there and make up for it. So that would have been the end of the punter's career if that would have happened. That's for sure.
So explain, and you told me this personally a few weeks ago, but explain to our listeners like how you get into punting, because I'm always fascinated by that, because most guys are athletes like yourselves, and they didn't just say, I'm always going to be a punter. You kind of fell into it.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I kind of grew up playing everything I get my hands on. I mean, football, basketball, baseball, soccer, track, and in football, I was the quarterback. That was my original position back in my prime, I say, when I was slinging the pigskin instead of just booting it. Now I got hurt. I had to get Tommy John surgery. I was reaching out for a fumble, and I tore that same tendon. Pitcher would. So I finished off the season as the punter. So you can still go out there and punt without it. But then I get surgery after the season, kind of rehabbing from that. I focused more on punting. And then I saw a lot more doors open with my foot than my arm. And so, I just kind of ran with the momentum. And I would not be talking to you today if I was still trying to compete with Joe Burrow throwing the ball. So in a way, I'm kind of grateful I got hurt, I guess. One door closed, no one opened. And yeah, I'm kind of, it's weird how it ended up that way, but yeah, I don't think I'm making any other professional sport with another skill set. So
now you are from here, so just so everybody knows, born and raised, you actually went to LaSalle High School, one of my high school's rivals. What's it like from your vantage point as someone who's been through all these bad Bengals years, right? As a hometown kid, you're playing for them. Now, like you said, the last 2 years, the best 2 years in the history of the franchise. It's like what's that like to be a part of just the complete and utter turnaround of kind of a laughing stock franchise, right? Until the last few years.
I mean, obviously exciting. I would be selfish to say that I was the missing piece, but it did turn around when I got there. But I think Joe Burrow had a little bit more to do with it than the punter, especially the backup punter the first year. I think it's been a complete shift in the locker room and just up top and everything in between. You can really feel it when you go in there. It feels almost like when I was college. I mean, you just expect to win. I mean, I think that's what you expect out of a winning locker room and team. And I mean, that was certainly the vibe we've had in the last 2 years. We brought guys in that just know how to win, and they're just used to it, and they don't accept anything else. And I think just not only the good football players, a bunch of good dudes too. I mean, it's a great locker room in terms of just guys in general, just wanting to hang out together outside of, off the practice field. We're in there playing ping pong hours after practice ends, just because guys just enjoy being around each other. And, that brotherhood or family-like aspect, I think you see it on the field and the success that we're having. So.
And what part, full disclosure, I've been very critical of Zach Taylor the last few years. So I want to ask you, somebody who actually, plays for him. I've been critical, but I want to hear from somebody who plays for him and say, hey, he brings a lot more to the table than some people give him credit for. Or what are some things that you're talking about? Everything's changed in the vibe in the locker room. Is Zach Taylor a huge part of that?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. It starts up top, and, obviously he's brought in a lot of great talent.
Yeah.
But I think more so just having a coach that's, approachable. He's a player's coach. He doesn't have an ego to where you feel like you can't go up and talk to the guy. I mean, if there's something that's an issue that's bothering you want something fixed in a locker room or whatnot, I really feel like you can go up and talk to him about anything. And, having that kind of relationship with, a coach in a way, it's just a lot more comfortable feeling when you go into work every day. I can remember back my early days of college being with Urban Meyer, very different feeling. I mean, you're walking on pins and needles throughout the day, and some people strive under that, and, some people don't succeed as well. But, having the kind of motivation through love in a way, I think it's people receive that a lot better nowadays than kind of the old school football where just hard, everything's got to be hard and I'm your coach and listen to me and whatnot. I mean, that's just not how it works anymore. And, he does a great job of that.
I think Urban's got an open door policy to some folks, probably just not somebody else like you. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not the punter, the freshman punter or whatever. I love Urban and
the freshman cheerleader, possibly.
I'm not getting into any of that. No. That's all. That was Joe. That was not Drue.
It's a Dirty Sports podcast. We had to get one in there.
So when you go to Ohio State, like, is Urban recruit? Like, what's your relationship like with Urban before you go there? Is he recruiting you, or obviously there's so many coaches and so many recruiters? Like, how do you end up at Ohio State, and what other schools were you looking at?
Yeah, Urban recruited me. I would say Urban was very involved actually with my recruiting. Now thinking back, because he was the punt was his baby. That was so he was the head football coach and then the punt team's coach. I mean, it was like that was his thing. He was a big Jim Tressel guy, where punt is the most important play in football. So he lived and breathed that, and he put a lot of time and effort into punt. So yeah, he made sure he picked out the guy that he wanted. And of all the schools that had recruited me, once I started getting some traction, some offers, Ohio State was the one I had to work for the most. I had to go to camps and had to compete against other guys, and eventually, finally they offered me a scholarship. Most other places would just call me up, be like, "Hey man, we got you a full ride. You don't even need a visit. Just check out, Google us, and then hopefully you decide to come." But I think being so close, they wanted me to really come up there and see it. And plus, it is kind of the hard to get girl. Once you finally get that scholarship, it means a little bit more than someone that just called you up randomly and offered it to you. So I think that's what drew me to Ohio State. And then knowing how much emphasis Urban put on the punt team, that was attractive for me as a punter as well.
I want to go back to the Bengals. Obviously, you guys got close a couple years ago. It feels like the Bengals are on the brink. You can't be more on the brink than going to a Super Bowl and losing. But I got to imagine from year to year, there has to be a sense in the locker room of like, we just need to do this. There's some part I feel like of the Bengals where it was just the last couple of years, just couple breaks, couple plays here and there. But is there something about this Bengals team where you're like, if we can do this year, I think that we've got as good a chance as anybody? Or do you guys just already feel like you've beaten the Chiefs plenty of times in the last couple of years? You're right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we know we got the pieces in the locker room. Joe Burrow's at the helm. I mean, yeah, stars just need to align. I mean, that's how it is at this level, though. Everything is so competitive. It really comes down to just, a player or two that can completely change the game. And it just depends on who's going to make that play, at the end of the game, or who knows, it could be a third quarter interception. That could be, the play that you look back on that really sealed the game or whatever. Yeah, I mean, we're due. The city's due, teams due. I think a very Super Bowl parade is not out of the question in the coming years. And we got the right guys in the locker room and just got to get the job done.
Now, you DoorDash to Paycor Stadium, right?
I did one of mine. Yeah.
Now was that a surprise? Like, were you surprising people?
Yeah. I mean, so it comes up on the app, Drue C. But I don't know how, I've never really ordered too much DoorDash. So I don't know how much you actually look at who you're actually delivering. But when I pulled up, they had no idea it was me. I'd met the lady. She works up in the office, maybe on the social. I don't even know I don't forget what she does. She works in the up higher level. Ordered some Chipotle. I saw I was going to Paycor. I was like, this is gonna be a good one. And I pulled up. I'd never gone to this entrance either. I always go the same way, so I actually got lost going to work in a way because I didn't know where they pull in parking lot and get their food delivered to. So, but I pulled up and she chuckled. She recognized me immediately and she's like, "What? Are you just doing side quest now? Like, what's going on here?" But we got the food.
You were like, if you work in payroll,
Yeah.
So like, what do the Bengals make? Yeah, what do the Bengals make of this, Drue? Like, what are your teammates? Because that's a whole other thing. It's like, are guys just kind of busting your chops a little, or
has anybody? Have you DoorDashed to any teammates at this point?
I haven't DoorDashed any team. So we start back tomorrow. So a lot of guys have just gotten back recently. They weren't in town too much when I was actually doing the door. There was a couple guys I'd work out with at the stadium in the morning that had seen the videos and chuckled at a little bit. One guy actually told me he did. Was it Instacart? He did Instacart his first year. We had another undrafted guy. He told me he did something similar. So it is kind of funny to see that there, another guy was doing some kind of similar job in the off season. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see tomorrow, I guess, when we get to see the rest of the team.
So I just thought of something. Obviously the contract discussion with Burrow is like at the forefront of everything in the news here and how much he's going to get paid. Can you imagine how much Burrow would make if he DoorDashed for like just from the people of Cincinnati? Like maybe the people of Cincinnati could just pay that contract. if he just DoorDashed for like a month or something, right? Like people would give him enough money to offset
he'd get some good tips. Yeah, right? I would imagine so. If I ever DoorDash to Joe, I better get a good tip too, especially with the numbers that are being thrown out.
You just sorry, Andy. I have about one thing that talking Drue talking about delivering to the stadium reminded me of. I have now been to Paycor myself as a guy who lives in Los Angeles. I never really thought I would make my way to the Bengals stadium, but Andy and I planned a trip last year for me to visit specifically for the Bills Monday night game, which obviously we only watched, 12 plays of or whatever. And it was an experience that we talked about living through from the seats in the stadium. Our fans that we call DirtBalls were like, what was it like being there? I was actually doing updates from the stadium on social media, putting out things that like they hadn't been putting on TV yet from the perspective of the sideline and somebody who was literally playing in that game or soon to play in that game at some point, although no punter may have been featured in that game at all. What was that like? What was that night like for you? What are some of the things that you remember from that evening?
Yeah, I mean, that It's a blur looking back on it, really. I mean, it was, especially like how big of a game it was. I mean, the emotions that were running high, and then, for that to happen so early in the game. Most of the time when someone goes down, you kind of, take a knee, whatever, take your helmet off, say a little prayer for the guy, and he gets up and goes off the field. Obviously, that wasn't the case, and I think the longer it went on, the more guys realized like this is serious. Like this is something that no one's seen before. Especially, I mean, when you put on that helmet, you don't expect that. It might be the last time you put on a helmet, and then when that was a reality, and when we were hearing that that might be the case for Demar there, I mean, it really struck home to a lot of guys on the sideline. You could see the emotion that was pouring over guys. Our long snapper was actually a college teammate of his, and so
Wow.
knew the guy personally. So he was kind of like, I mean, he was a wreck. I mean, it was very emotional couple, minutes there while we were trying to figure everything out. And then ultimately, when the decision was made for us to go in and cancel the game, and I think they even refunded tickets that they didn't have to. I think all of those decisions were, the right ones made at that time. And it's just a scary situation. You never want to see that. And by the grace of God, he came out all right. And shoot, now he was just in Cincinnati, I think just a couple of days ago, teaching like a CPR class or something. So, very fortunate that it happened that way. And but yeah, I think it hit really hard, close to home for a lot of guys, and made some guys, really think about the next time they put on that jersey or the helmet. Like this is a dangerous sport. This is might be more life threatening than I anticipated, especially at this level and all the research that goes into it. You just never know.
Yeah, I know for me that game, and I know we talked about it on our show, and I'm sure you felt this as a player. I've never been a part of anything like that in my life where the energy, I mean, you could feel, right? It was palpable in that stadium. The energy, like you said, was so high. Monday Night Football, two great teams, high-powered offenses. And just from it to go like that to just, you could hear a pin drop. I mean, it was just absolutely unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I can't even imagine, what you guys were going through on the sideline. But I also think, through all that, I'm sure you'd agree, almost the Bills Bengals rivalry, the Bengals Chiefs, like what's really cool to me as someone who grew up here, like Bengals didn't have like good rivals, it was kind of like always little brother to the Steelers or the Ravens or whoever. Now it's like Bengals are national, right? Like there's these national rivalries that everybody wants to partake in. And that's just got to be awesome as a player to just see again, the transformation of where everything's come.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the conversation you want to be in every year. I mean, you're talking about some really talented teams and be thrown in the mix. And I don't think it's crazy to say that we belong either. I mean, we've shown it, especially the last couple of years. And as I mentioned, it's been a culture shift in the locker room, but I think the city as well. I mean, I think it's funny now, after we get through so many hard years, now it's like last year, it's like we didn't make it to the Super Bowl. It's just funny how quickly, that mindset shifts in the city.
Yeah.
Once you get that success and the talent that we have. I mean, yeah, it's really Super Bowl or bust, and that's exactly the kind of the mindset you want to have going into a season.
Now, you were in a punter battle last year. I mean, would you call it that with Kevin Huber?
I think I would say every punter is in their own specific punter battle. I mean, there's only 32 jobs in the world. Everybody wants one of them. So
sure. And then the Bengals draft Brad Robbins, right, from Michigan. So you're going to be essentially in the same position this year, right? What is that like? You're teammates with somebody, but you're also, I mean, we see it in Hard Knocks, but you're competing against this person for your livelihood. Like you said, there's only 32 punters. Take me through that mindset last year. Take me through your mindset this year going in where, again, it's your teammate, but you got to be uber competitive because you're both fighting for one spot.
Right. Yeah. It was certainly a different shift from college. You got the scholarship and you're the only scholarship punter on the roster. Yeah, you got some walk-ons, but really, I mean, it's your job to lose. I don't think it's like that way, especially in the specialist position. Shoot, even if you make it to the final roster, doesn't necessarily mean the next week's guaranteed either. I mean, you could have a couple of bad practices in a row, and all of a sudden they're working out guys and looking. I mean, it's just the nature of the business. NFL, not for long. So once you get a job, you try to hold on to it as long as possible because you don't know when that last day is going to come. And so you can't really think about too much of, the guy, the locker down. I mean, everything is so individually, motivated. It has to be at this level. You can't really compare yourself to too many people. I mean, you try to be that. It sounds cliche, but you be the best version of yourself, and hopefully you're one of the best 32, whether it's in the Bengals locker room or somewhere else around the league. As long as you put good stuff on the field, usually good things happen. So that's really the goal of any specialist in the preseason, at least at this point.
So you're telling me there's 0% of your mind that's thinking you went to Ohio State, he went to Michigan, a little bit more on the line here than just your guys' job. I know that rivalry is real important to everybody.
Yeah, no, that's Hollywood. You couldn't draw it up any better.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. I know the guy really well. Being in college, we know those guys almost better than ourselves, how much we studied them. So I've got to know him well, and I got to see him a lot in OTAs. He was here. He's a great dude, great punter. It's gonna be a fun month or so here.
Now, take me in the locker room with the specialist. Like, do you guys have your own corner? Is it kind of like high school where like it's clicky? Do the linebackers have their own corner and the quarterbacks? Like, where are you? Where's Evan McPherson? Like, where are you guys? Where are you set up?
I originally, let's think. I started off in, I think it was the cheerleaders locker room. I think it was COVID. That's where they put all the rookies. So
are you messing with me? Are you serious?
I think it was the cheerleaders locker room because they had to space everybody out. So I got moved from that. And then if you imagine our locker room, it's like a kind of like shaped like a football, oval shape in a way. And then there's one little section. It's kind of just like no man's land, just kind of like almost like a back door to like 10, 15 lockers. We got moved into that spot. I was like, okay, moving up in the world. And then eventually, this preseason, actually, this going into OTAs, I finally made it into the oval of all the rest of the locker rooms. And it goes Evan, then our long snapper, then me. So kind of we're all three of us are kind of right next to each other. But I don't know if there probably is some science to who puts who together. I think most of the time the position groups are bundled together. But yeah, that's just it's not everybody's just kind of all together in that big oval. And most of the time we spend most of our time around the ping pong table anyway. That's where a lot of guys spend their time in the locker room, is ping pong table or cornhole boards. So
okay, so I have to ask that as a follow-up. Who's the best ping pong player and who's the best? Would it be cornholer? Like what's the term we're going to use here?
Holer? I don't know. Yeah, probably. Best ping pong is Trent Taylor. He very, 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 very good. They did a tournament after the season for all the NFL teams. Anybody that wanted to join. So a bunch of NFL guys went, and he actually won the whole thing. So he represented us as very well, and we saw that every day. I mean, it was pretty special. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a career in that after football. And then cornholer, another receiver, Trenton Irwin, long hair Cali dude. He is once Clark Harris went down, our long snapper, he was next in line for that reign. Clark had it for a while, but then T.I. has taken that title. Specialists hold their own in a lot of it, but we're not quite breaking to the top yet. Why
am I not surprised that the white guys are like excelling at the white sports?
I don't know. It just happens that way. But a lot of money has been lost and won on those boards, so it gets pretty competitive.
Oh, I can only imagine. Like, are there another follow up, because we're going all over the rules with gambling, and obviously they're trying to put you guys through the ringer on all this. It's confusing with what you can and can't gamble on with all these partnerships now that the NFL has. Are there any rules with that, or can you guys just put down money and say, hey, I'm going to bet you whatever on this game?
I don't think you can do cash. I don't think we can bring cash into a locker room, but Venmo or Cash App, I think that's fair game. I might be in the wrong here. I might be getting some guys in trouble. Who knows? But as far as what I've seen,
Just make those Venmos private, everybody.
yeah, exactly. Make the Venmos private, but yeah, there's been a decent amount of change that I've seen exchanged, and I'm like, wow, that's a different salary that I'm making. My wife would not be happy if I came home losing that much money.
We've talked. We talked before. I was asking you about the nerves that you get when you're doing all things. Let me ask you about the highs and the lows of being a punter. What on the spectrum? Obviously, the highest high for a punter is pinning somebody inside the last couple yards in a big punt, and the lows are when you just completely shank one. Which end of those, I guess, feels higher or lower? Like, do you get more excited about an incredible punt than you get disappointed if you shank one, or vice versa?
Man, I'm pretty hard on myself, even on punts that aren't even that bad. I have a hard time finding. I mean, I find myself sometimes got to kick myself and just get back into a mental headspace because, I mean, the game is just such a roller coaster. I mean, I remember a game in college it was in Michigan State. I started off the game with a 4-yard punt. 4. I mean, with no other digit after that. I mean, it was cold. It was in Michigan. Wind was crazy. I was first punt of the game, and I was just like, I could kick that with my left foot further than that. But by the end of the game, I was named MVP. I mean, I put the next 5-6 punts. So typically when I have a poor punt or a poor performance, it really just juices me up for the next time I'm out there. I mean, I'm down on myself, but at the same time, I'm like, God, I think it goes back to me being like a quarterback, I wish I had that like next play to make up for it. Sometimes for a punter, it happens that way where I got another 5-6 opportunities to make up for it. And sometimes, it's the last play of the game, and that's all you think about for the next week until you get to go do it again the week after. But yeah, there's no better feeling than pinning someone deep inside the 5. Probably the peak moment this past year was I put Tom Brady, when we were in Tampa on like the 2-yard line. I was like, I feel like that's kind of peak punter moment, pinning Tom Brady inside the 5. I mean, I was like that. I don't think it gets any better than that. So
I heard that's why he officially retired. It was that punt, man.
Yeah,
it probably was. Yeah.
Well, Drue, I know you got a lot going on. You got to babysit. You start your second job tomorrow playing football. But it's been a pleasure having you on, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. And it was great meeting you the other day with the Gold Star. Appreciate all you did with what I got going on as well. So.
Well, yeah, and drop your social, guys. Drue's a great follow. Does great videos, and I mean, need I say, like, your third job, influencer? Is that where we're at?
I don't know. Who knows what's going to turn into, what the next couple of weeks here looks like, the free time. I enjoy making videos. I enjoy making people smile. So if I can do that in some way, shape, or form, I'm going to try to and bring whoever follows me along with me. Yeah, social. I mean, you see it right there, Drue Chrisman 91. That's Twitter and Instagram, and I've got YouTube going on, and even started a TikTok. So if you Google me, you'll probably be able to find it somehow. But yeah, appreciate you supporting me in any way. And
yeah, man, for sure.
Also, I'd just say, do anything for anybody listening. Do something in your own way as well. If you don't want to team up with me or follow me, do something. Doesn't have to be anything crazy like I'm doing. Maybe just do the dishes before your mom asks, or compliment someone, hold a door open. I mean, there's a lot of need for just some kindness in the world. And I think if we can promote that as much as possible, it goes a long way.
Well, we appreciate that, Drue, and good luck with this season.
Yeah, have a great camp, and we hope to see you out there. And thank you again for doing the show. We really appreciate having you.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Cool. Thanks, Drue. Appreciate it.
Peace.
Good guy.
Fun. Oh,
yeah.
Great dude.
It's amazing. Like, as NFL fans, even guys who we've been around sports a long time, and we know we've talked to McAfee, and we've talked to athletes. We've talked to Brian Scalabrine, is a great example of an NBA guy who, didn't get a lot of run, but then just absolutely destroyed every pickup guy that he's ever played. It's like you talk to a guy like Drue, you could just tell in the way the dude sits, he's an athlete.
I
And you're
know.
like,
Well,
and NFL fans, out there screaming at that stupid punter.
I
And you're
know.
like, yeah, high school quarterback, probably just about, if you're watching, probably about the best athlete you've ever seen,
Well, and I'm glad you made that point, because that's literally what I was telling Brittany that after we did that event. I said that exact thing. I go, it's so funny how people are so critical of like a skill position. I go, he's 6'3", he's in great shape, full ride to Ohio State, was playing high school quarterback. It's like,
yeah,
you can say, oh, he's the punter. It's like, dude, you don't get to this position. Again, there's only 32 of them without being a great athlete.
Yeah.
Like, again, he played all the sports. It is funny how critical everybody can get, and we lose sight. And I do it sometimes too. But
like we said, it's like, you're watching the punter. It's like, there's no win. Like if he pins Brady inside the 2, as a fan, you're just like, okay, great. Let's, it's not even like, yeah, there. Look at Chrisman. Get a Chrisman jersey tomorrow. But you'll drop 50 F-bombs if he hits his 4-yarder that he was talking about.
Yeah.
Then you'll know his name. It's I love what he said when I was asking him about the nerves involved. It's just like he can't even think about that. It's just such a high pressure job, especially the holding, especially the punting. It's like, you think about all those guys on that team. It's like, it's so true. Like, no one's bigger than anybody else. It's like any single one of those guys from any position can be the make or break on the team. And that's the beauty of sports. That's what you love to see. It's cool to talk to a guy who's, deeply involved in a franchise that's turning itself around right now.
Yeah, and he said
such a good guy, and he might even stay a Bengals fan for the whole year this time. When you met him, did you talk about your other fandoms, or did you just keep it where you're like, big Bengals guy?
No, I didn't even say big Bengals guy. We just talked sports and whatever. But he said stuff that I've complained about, right? Finally the city has set the bar of like, hey, it's Super Bowl or bust. And that's all I've said, whether it's the Bengals or the Lions or the Browns. Like, I don't get why some of these fan bases just set the bar low. Like, the football is one of the few sports, I'd argue, professionally, where a team can just come out of nowhere and make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
How many times are we going to see it? So I agree. I think that's great for the city, and just for a franchise that's been terrible. I didn't bring up any of the other stuff, but I'm glad I asked him about Zach Taylor, and I was honest, right? Like, I have been critical of Zach Taylor, and I'm sure Drue's not lying, and I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I don't see that he was talking about, as far as he's not Urban Meyer, and he wasn't taking digs at Urban Meyer by any means,
right.
But he was just saying, look, I was recruited by one type of coach, and now I play for a different type of coach. And you've said this a lot too. Like, that's the modern NFL. They want a coach who can relate to the guys and be player friendly.
And I think that, we've talked about Urban Meyer specifically a lot on this show, and other coaches across different sports. It's like, I think that's just the difference between being a student athlete and being a professional athlete. When you walk in, there's so much more that goes into your job when it's your job.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we're now seeing when we talk about the running back contract situations last episode, when we talk about the NBA players that are kind of turning it into a players league. And so far as it's like, the days of just rah, yell at you, I don't even know the punter's name unless he's whatever, guys, like that those days are over. I think especially in the NFL and the NBA and these sports where these guys are just getting paid so much money. Obviously, the punters don't make as much as Joe Burrow's about to sign for, but like, you have to treat them like they're adults, and you have to treat them like they're professional athletes, because they are both of those things. So I think those coaches that have that attitude are going to go a lot farther these days. I mean, we've seen Sabans and the Urban Meyers and those types of guys come and go in the NFL, the Chip Kellys come and go and run back to college with their tail between their legs because that shit just doesn't work.
Sure. Well, I think this would be a good segue to talk about things that don't work. Dan Snyder and the Washington Redskins turned commander or football team turned Commanders. He's officially sold the team as of a couple days ago. And free at last for any sort of Washington football fans.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Dan Snyder era was not one with a lot of successful moments. I mean, there was a couple halfway decent teams in there. There were certainly a handful of great players that came and went. But all in all, owners in a way are like your punter. It's like you don't really want to be talking about them all that much. If you're talking about who your owner is and what he's doing and all that stuff, like it's generally not a good sign. There's a lot of teams out there who outside of their fan bases probably don't know the names. Obviously in the NFL, everybody knows the Rooneys own the Steelers. Everybody knows the Maras own the Giants. Everybody knows like a couple of things. Everybody knows. You could say everybody knows Jerry Jones owns the Cowboys, but probably not in the way you want.
Yeah.
But for teams like the Arizona Cardinals, for teams like the Niners, for teams like the whoever. Like the average NFL fan probably doesn't know the names of those owners.
Yeah.
And everybody knew who Dan Snyder was. And not because he was doing an amazing job. So let's hope that the names of the new ownership group are remembered and quickly forgotten. And 5 years from now, it's like, who owns the Commanders?
So he had 24 seasons as an owner. They only made 6 playoff appearances, 2 playoff wins, no NFC championship games, 10 different head coaches, again, in 24 years, 27 different starting QBs, and a 427 winning percentage. Fun fact, the team had as many name changes as playoff wins. Now, I think they should go back to Washington football team. The rumor is they're going to get rid of Commanders.
Really?
That's the rumor.
Listen, I liked Washington football team. I said that they should stay the Washington football team. But at this point, like, what are we doing here? You can change the name again? Now I'm on team just be the Commanders and just like let it go.
So part of the whole...
Is there any truth to they're just going to be the Washington X? Is there any truth to that?
I like that. No, just X.
Just X.
Just X. Not even Washington. They're going to change it, though.
You think so?
I've heard that.
I honestly, if you change it.
Here we go, right here.
Yeah.
Washington X skins.
I
like it.
Here, I'll just say this, and this will be my final thought. Like, I actually think, and I was a guy who was pro leaving it Washington football team. I think you should leave it the Commanders at this point because now you're sort of just embarrassing yourself with the changes. But if it were to be changed again, the absolute only answer is that it goes back to the Washington football team. If it is any other thing, like if you were to create a new name, that would be the most clown shoe shit of all time. You can't change your fucking team mascot 5 times in 4 seasons.
Yeah. No, I agree. You'd have to go back to the Washington football team. So he had to pay $60 million in part of the closing sale because of the whole investigation on misconduct, financial improprieties, and all the shady stuff he did. This is what I love. The NFL is like, you have to pay us $60 million as part of your closing fee. But here's the fun fact. He bought the team for $800 million. It sold for $6.5 billion. And the NFL is like, hey, but you owe us $60 million of that.
Yeah. So it sold for $6.44 billion if you put his fees in there.
I sent you this. There actually is a. You asked about his yacht, and I discovered, through this when it was trending, there is a Twitter feed.
What? I thought we were not allowed. I thought that was part of the whole Twitter thing. Is like you can't dox somebody's real-time location. Wasn't that was that just specifically for Elon? Was that just an Elon rule? You could dox everybody else's location?
Well, it wasn't in real time. It was at Dan Snyder's yacht. It says track Dan Snyder's yachts and jets. They are delayed and not live. Let me see if there is anything. I don't know if they've posted that. They might have changed that because I don't see an actual posting for a while. It's just Dan Snyder hate. Regardless, yeah, he's off in the sunset with a lot of money. Which like I've said this. In the end, like you're not a good person. I'm just gonna call it for what it is. Like he's not a good person, and he makes billions of dollars. It's what happened to Donald Sterling. It's like, hey, you're a piece of shit, and you're gonna make billions of dollars.
And as a Giants fan, it's the absolute worst thing that can happen. Like I wanted my team to be in a division with Daniel Snyder and Jerry Jones for as long as absolutely possible, and now I'm down to like the Eagles have new ownership in the past however many years. The Redskins / Commanders / Washington football team has new ownership, and now all I'm left with is Jerry Jones. Sad day. Sad day for a New York Football Giants fan.
And his McRiddles.
Yeah.
I believe but you do get this. Hold on, you do get this. I believe Magic Johnson is part of this new ownership group.
Right.
And Magic hasn't really had a good track record post NBA career.
Well, he's
Dodgers.
in the Dodgers ownership group, yeah, and it essentially completely turned them around.
Well, yeah.
But besides that,
I stand corrected.
I think he's the number one owner of movie theaters in the country.
No.
He completely cured himself of HIV. I would argue his post NBA career is better than his NBA career.
No,
he's the Forrest Gump of the world. Except he actually cured HIV.
He really is.
Jenny would still be alive if she was married to Magic Johnson.
He really is. He really is. He's black.
He tweets just like Forrest Gump too. I can't wait for his Commanders related tweets. I played back in the Boston Garden in the 80s when the parquet floor was very wobbly, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that off-field turf is worse. You're like, thanks, Captain Obvious. Sometimes I imagine what this team would be like if RG3's knees had held up.
Well, he's already started. What a great day to be an NFL owner of the Washington Commanders, which is one of the greatest days of my life. He just repeated himself.
Yeah.
The way the fans received us, the way the employees are fired up, and the amazing Redskins alumni. Wow. The players are ready to go out and perform on Sunday.
Listen, Magic Johnson beat HIV, and then he beat the ownership AIDS that the Washington football team had. He's like, I have once again cured a thing of AIDS. Daniel Snyder has been removed from your blood system.
Oh, man. I mean, he is magic.
Yeah.
Like, his name is Matt. Like, the dude is magic. Everything about this guy. It's unbelievable. But, yeah, I'll be curious what happens because
who knew that DC was such a fucking magical city? Now they have magic and wizards.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. He definitely has a better post-NBA career than his boy Jordan, speaking of Wizards.
Oh, yeah.
Who is no longer an owner? Is Jordan no longer an owner?
He's no longer an owner.
Charlotte?
Magic, in the same week, Magic Johnson has acquired yet another team that he will probably successfully turn around. And Jordan has left another team in just disarray. And as I tweeted / threaded from the Dirty Sports Podcast today, if you add these 13 years of Hornets/Bobcats ownership to the 2 years with the Wizards to the first 6 years of his career in Chicago. We're now at a full 22 years that Jordan Slurpers will pretend never happened.
Yeah.
2 decades of that. What are you talking about? He won the NBA championship in his rookie year. What are you talking about? Played 6 years in the NBA. Never owned a team.
Speaking of never happened, I don't know if this is true. It's just saw it on a tweet. It's that picture of Jordan and LeBron when LeBron's real young. And somebody just said, how come there's never been video evidence of this game? Have you seen this? Like, I don't know if it's a camp, it's something.
Oh yeah, I believe LeBron did play in something when he was like 16, right?
But Jordan was playing too.
Yeah.
And then people were debating like there's no video evidence.
Well, I'm assuming it's like there's no video evidence of a couple different Jordan things because the Nike team went out and murdered anybody who had it.
Oh yeah, bro. There
is like an old widow out there who's like, I swear to God, my husband who VHS recorded that on a beta cam. And then Phil Knight killed him. And it's the only conspiracy theory that Sam Tripoli will not investigate because Michael Jordan has never done anything wrong.
Your boy. Let's get to you want to get to some calls and wrap this show up?
Sure.
Let's hear from the DirtBall fam. Give us a ring, guys. 310-359-8365. That's the hotline. Got a recommendation for the intro.
Hey guys, it's Trice from Missouri again. I was just kind of wondering, what do you guys think? So we need some sort of intro for the show because when the song is playing, I think it just kind of gets awkward sometimes. So I'm thinking maybe like a contest and see if some of the DirtBalls can come up with like an animation or like something for the intro to play while the song is playing. And then that'll also give you guys time to like make small, minute adjustments while the song is playing rather than being on camera at that time. I don't know. What are your thoughts? I think it'd be pretty cool.
So I have now embraced the awkwardness.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like almost a thing.
Randy has talked about the awkwardness. And to me, it's just, I don't even think about it at all. I don't think
it's awkward.
I'm just like, these are the last looks for me. It's like the last check of my phone, the last sip of my coffee, the last thing. I'm just getting, if anybody watches, I'm doing something. Now, I know, Andy, that with StreamYard, there is like you can put up a graphic that would happen. Maybe it's a graph. Maybe
that's all we need to do. Like, first of all,
what I'm going to start doing is just holding up my dates. I'm going to start writing my dates and holding them up on the screen.
The DirtBalls can submit. And by the way, we could do this like on our own or have somebody do it. Some of the, people that help us with stuff. This is an easy fix. If you guys want to submit something,
just a bumper graphic,
I think I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You get weird. Be original. Whatever you want. Oh, wow. Orlando coming in hot on YouTube. How about a new song? That song is AIDS. Magic Johnson cured that too.
I've made I mean, we're like, how many years into this podcast?
Almost 10 years in, bro.
I appreciate, obviously, and this goes for DirtBalls everywhere. It's like, I always appreciate anytime anybody does something for the show. Like, we don't always use the thing they do for the show. We don't always whatever, but like, I appreciate the fact that people call the hot one hotline 310-359-8365. Sometimes your call doesn't get played, but it doesn't mean that we don't appreciate it. We have to have calls to choose from. I appreciate that your boy did that song, but also that song is AIDS.
But it's also part of the fabric.
Now it's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you know, I don't know. It's a thing. I mean, don't make me bring back the dubstep, guys.
I know that, and listen, I appreciated the dubstep version that was made as well, but it did put things into perspective. Like, it can be worse. It can be worse.
The dubstep. I was into that dubstep for a minute. Okay. Speaking of AIDS, we have a call about Kirk Cousins.
Hey, Drew, Andy. It's James, Texas DirtBall here. And I was just finishing up the Netflix series Quarterback, and I was wondering what y'all thought about how they painted Kirk Cousins as far as it seems like he was in a very positive light and that he carried this team to the playoffs. No, I think they painted him in a very positive light, and I was wondering what y'all thought about that. Anyway, condoms are for Astros fans. Stay dirty.
So how far are you? I'm almost done with the third episode, so I'm not that far.
I'm either through 4 or through 5. I might be into 6.
Okay.
I'll just say this. I'm not done. But and this isn't to dunk on our caller. Like I said, I appreciate all calls. They painted everybody in a good light. Like, that's like, first of all, Jackson Mahomes barely featured. Like, like, and my point with that is the Marcus Mariota story. I don't know. Yeah, you're not quite there yet, but I had forgotten about it. I mean, we get to the point in the season where Marcus Mariota gets benched and then he leaves the team.
Yeah, just leaves. And
it's a simultaneous. So his kid is born and he decides to get his knee done. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to go back. And it's very clear. And I had forgotten about it, but it's very clear because they talk to the coach and they talk to Marcus and they show the situation. It's very clear that what happened is he got benched. And he was like, well, here's an opportunity for me to spend time with my newborn. And the way I will do that is by getting my knee done now and not waiting until the end of the season and being there to be the backup. He literally put being with his kid over 4 more games, being the backup, being there if they needed him. There's a part of that. Marcus Mariota seems like a nice guy. There's a part of that is very selfish. Now, listen, I've never had a kid, and I understand that is an opportunity that presented itself, but it's a very selfish thing. They didn't really dive into it too much. This you got to remember, this show, I'm assuming they're going to want to maybe do more of these. It's also, Peyton Manning is the executive producer. There's not a whole lot of people in quarterback that are painted with anything but a positive light, I
think that's part of the deal, man. Exactly. If Peyton Manning's calling the shots.
Jackson Mahomes so far has been in it for like 3 seconds. Jackson Mahomes is, I would say, maybe there's part of it where Patrick Mahomes is like, I don't want, don't feature my brother. I get a lot of shit about my brother. Like, we're not going to feature him. But simultaneously, until the sexual assault, whatever incident, Patrick Mahomes is bringing him on every sideline in every game, home and away. So there's some part of it's like, why isn't he featured? Oh, well, he's not featured because he did this thing. And that's just like, there's a part where he fucking gives his jersey to Henry Winkler on the sideline at a Rams game. And Jackson is there, but they make no mention of it. And it's like, of course they're not going to, because since this thing has been shot, his brother has, done some bad shit. And so they're like, cut it out. Like, we're just not going to mention him at all. We're not going to mention that it went bad. We're not going to mention that he had this issue. We're just not going to mention it.
Yeah.
We're not going to show. We're going to show Brittany raising their baby, and we're going to show Brittany's like women's soccer career, but we're not going to show her dumping champagne on people in freezing cold weather and being like, "Let them eat cake." Like, you know, everybody's being painted in a good light.
My thing with Cousins, again, I'm almost through 3 episodes. I just don't think you can be that level of dork and be a quarterback that's successful.
Listen, Kirk Cousins is a successful quarterback in the NFL.
No,
There's
but,
doubt about that.
no, but what I mean is like playoff successful. Like he openly says it that he has issues being vocal. Be like, dude, you're the quarterback. I'm not saying you got to be a rah-rah guy, but even you see it with Mahomes. You see the competitive nature that these guys have. A lot of these guys aren't rah-rah guys. Like Burrow's not a rah-rah guy. I don't know if I would consider Josh Allen a rah, but like, they command a locker room. I just don't see that with Cousins at all. Like at all.
I think that when you look at guys, listen, my criticisms of Kirk Cousins are long and storied. But like Kirk Cousins is absolutely a dork. And they go through they painted the whole thing about, oh, he gets hit a bunch and he gets back up and does all this thing and blah, 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 blah. I talked about this with going back and we had dirtballs that argue with us at the time. And it's obviously everybody's since come around on it. But the Jameis eating the W thing, I mean, do you remember Jameis on Hard Knocks in general? Like, I was just like, dude, to me, I know some guys are going to like certain things and other guys aren't. But I think if there's any sort of cringe factor to you, if your teammates feel cringy about you at any point, I think that's like the worst thing that you could have. It's just like, oh man,
yeah,
here's Kirk doing you like that still. Happened 14 years ago in Washington. Still screaming, you like that. You like that. Like, we get it, dude.
Yeah.
We get it. And you can kind of see it on the faces of those guys when he's doing this in the Vikings locker room. Some of the guys are like, all right, cool, Kirk. He's Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I agree. It's just like, I don't know. Again, nothing about him invokes somebody I want to go to battle with. And look, I do like, just like how I like Hard Knocks, showing the hits though. I mean, again, that we as fans and sit on your couch on Sunday, you forget these guys are gladiators, even the quarterbacks. And you can say, oh, the quarterbacks are pampered, because they are, but they take licks, man. Like, they get lit up. It's like Drue was just saying, like, it's a rough sport, man. And I think we sometimes forget that because it's glorified on TV.
Oh, here's one thing I'd like to put out there, since, the caller just said, oh, he's painted in a positive light, which obviously, like I said, I think everybody is. But, there's a lot of watching Hard Knocks. When I watch Hard Knocks, and this is kind of my favorite thing to do with Hard Knocks, in the last few years, I haven't really gotten into it. I thought, the Cowboys thing was especially boring. And I forget who was it last season? Oh, the Lions. We took a lot away from the coach from the Lions. But we've judged. I mean, you go back to Tivas, you go back to Jared Goff, you go back to Jameis. When you get a look inside these locker rooms, like the way that people interact and the way people respond and just the way people talk, and just like being able to see it, like not even how somebody's painted, just like what you see tells me a lot about the team. One, I'll be interested to see how I feel about Aaron Rodgers after this Hard Knocks. I'll be very interested to see how I feel, because obviously the guy's a super talented quarterback. He's one of the all-time greats. But it'll be interesting to see if all the baggage that comes with him being traded, if the New York media, if all the stuff with, vaxxed, not vaxxed, the fucking ayahuasca, sleeping in the dark, the fucking doesn't talk to his family, all that stuff is a factor. And I think you'll be able to see that just like kind of in the interactions. Are people going to be in awe of him on the Jets? Is he going to be embraced as a teammate? But I guess my question for people out there is like Marcus Mariota, when you're watching quarterback, you're kind of like, okay, everything about him tells me that this is kind of like what Marcus Mariota's career would be like. Like, he doesn't seem to be like Mr. Leadership. He's obviously super athletic. He's also in a bad situation. Like, the Falcons aren't good. He's got a couple big games. He's got a couple bad games. I think when you watch Patrick Mahomes on this, you're like, yep, that's why he's the best in the world. Like, he's creating his own plays, his relationship with his teammates, his relationship to like working out, his relationship to just like how everybody is absolutely in awe of him, his relationship with Andy Reid. I watch the Vikings and the Kirk Cousins in this, and I go, I think we've seen peak Cousins at this point. Like, I don't think he's any better. Now, I would love to hear. And I know that I'm asking for something I maybe don't really want, because I think there are a lot of delusional Vikings fans out there. I've dealt with a lot of them, but I think that there are a couple of Vikings fans in the Dirty Sports Nation that are somewhat reasonable. And I'd love to hear what those people take away from quarterback, because to me, I take away, we're probably 2 years. We're probably a year away from Justin Jefferson throwing him under the bus after a bad play. We're probably, them not coming out and going 9-1 to start this year or whatever. If they get off to a slow start, or if they lose to the Lions or something like that, suddenly the talk gets to be about Kirk and is he good enough? Because I think they kind of skated by last year. They didn't really have to answer for their failure, because their failure occurred, as it does for a lot of teams, on the last game of the year.
Yeah.
But they had such a good regular season, and then they have such a disappointing end that it's like you get to walk away on that failure. I'd love to hear from Vikings fans. Does quarterback make you more or less confident in Kirk Cousins? Because for me, as an outsider, it makes me exactly the same. Like, I'm not like, oh yeah, Kirk Cousins is even worse than I thought. I'm like, this is exactly who I thought Kirk Cousins was.
I agree. Nothing has surprised me. Nothing.
He fucking putting on the Neuron helmet, being a fucking dork, having his fucking man cave look like it was put together on Pimp My Man Cave.
Dude, the mannequin thing is wild.
The man cave is just an absolute disaster fest. Like, get a fucking actual, like, dude, I'm not even a contractor. I'll make you a better goddamn man cave than that. Like, what are we doing? Why do we have Hobby Lobby walls?
Yeah. It was pretty crazy. We actually have a call from a Vikings fan.
Do we?
It's not about this, though.
No. It's
about the never-ending Midwest debate. But Jay from Minnesota, #1 farmer DirtBall. It's a segue. I'll play his call. Nothing about Kirk Cousins, but I think he is kind of on our page with that stuff.
Joe, Andy, your #1 Minnesota farmer DirtBall, Jay. Obviously, farm kid from Minnesota, so I know all about quality of life. I just got back from San Francisco. Wife and I were there for 5 days. Thank you for the recommendations. We went to Original Joe's, great prime rib, filet mignon. Anyways, if you're arguing quality of life, guys, it's 65 degrees, beautiful, crisp air off the ocean, excellent food. It's not just doused in butter and cheese, and they just tell you it's a meal. I just realized how much fucking cheese I eat. It's disgusting. I might even make a lifestyle change. Probably not. I'm about to eat a cheese stick right now. But for those of you people that San Francisco is a shithole, there's dirty needles and homeless people all over. Fucking go to San Francisco. It's beautiful. California is not a shithole. Turn off Fox News. Live your life. Quality of life's great, but so is fucking California, dude.
Well, let me, as someone who's lived both, I think I'm gonna take the lead on this. You know, both can be true, Jay. Like there is a homeless problem in San Francisco, just like there was in LA. Now I lived there, but here's the thing: there's also amazing beaches, amazing natural beauty. You know what I'm saying? Like I would argue they both can exist. I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Definitely turn off Fox News. Like all the headlines gloss over what I've always said, the most beautiful state. I'd even argue one of the most beautiful regions in the entire world. Like I would have no problem actually arguing California versus the world as far as natural beauty. I really would probably argue that. So like they can both exist. You know what I'm saying?
I think his point, which I of course agree with. I mean, we're guys who had the majority of our LA time was spent in Venice. Venice is very famously of the many neighborhoods in New York. I mean, it's not Skid Row, but famously homeless heavy for a number of reasons.
For years.
One, it's the only beach town in LA that's LA City run.
Correct.
So LA City, being such a huge government, is going to be less well run than Santa Monica, which is its own fucking thing, which is Manhattan Beach,
Hermosa,
Malibu,
yeah.
whatever. So when you have a beach town that's run by the city of Los Angeles, the buses are worse than the fucking buses in Santa Monica. All that. So the homeless problem is worse. Obviously, the beach is an area that one can find. Oh, here's a place where I can sleep. Here's a place where I can fucking park. There's a whole lot of bureaucracy workarounds where you can be in a parking lot in your RV if you sign up for a fucking artist thing so that you can be on the boardwalk. Blah, 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 blah. Famously homeless. What Fox News and the fucking MAGA folks out there and the Twitter fucking people who want to dunk on California will make you feel like if you walk down the Venice boardwalk that you are hopscotching through human shit. And we both know that's not true at all. Sure, there's pockets and there's areas and those little tent cities move around and you got to call, and the fucking area over by the public storage on 4th Street where there's no homeowners so they can't move you, and then lining Penmar golf course for a long time and lining up, but like it's just not the way it is. Like everywhere is hypodermic needles and human shit. And every Walgreens you go into, people are just stealing because they don't do anything about crime. It's like, it's just nonsense. It's just absolute fucking nonsense.
Well, and the thing too is like, again, I agree. Like food
and by the way, the same thing goes for San Francisco. San Francisco. If you're in the fucking marina, you're not seeing homeless people.
But if you're in the city, don't leave shit in your car.
Yeah.
So like, look, it's my thing to like any, like, I don't think people should argue. Like, I think that's kind of pointless. Like you don't have to choose one or the other. And also like, you can like both. And again, everything has its problems, right? Like
my thing is very much like Jerry Jones and Dan Snyder. As a Giants fan, I wanted them to stick around. As a Californian, I love it. Please keep saying that the streets are lined with shit and garbage. Please don't come. Please don't come. Now for DirtBall's listening, please visit, but please don't move here. But also do, but don't tell anybody about it.
Well, look, life is going to ebb and flow. Like I straight up could not afford to live in California with a family. Now I can afford to live here. Hence, maybe that's where that term quality of life. But look, you give up certain things to gain certain things in any way of life, right? Like the first thing I noticed when I moved back home was like no homeless downtown. As far as like the nice parks along the river, I was like, oh, there's no homeless. But again, you add no homeless, I'm also along a river, not an ocean. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I think you have to have perspective. I'm like,
Well,
this isn't as cool.
And not to dunk on Ohio, but you and I both know that a big thing, especially in Venice, where we were, as opposed to, again, like a Skid Row. I mean, if you follow Venice 311 on X, or what was formerly Twitter back in the day, I mean, back in the day when that thread was more active, every day you would get Sally Johnson's family is wondering where she went. The last thing she wrote on her MySpace page was, I'm moving to Venice Beach. It's like, not a lot of people are getting their car and are like, I'm moving to Cincinnati to live on the streets. Like, but people move to LA to live on the beach, like fucking get in a van. And like, that's their plan. And so it's just part of shit that you got to deal with living here.
Well, and also, like, again, it depends on where you're at. Like you and I lived there for years. We all know how much I enjoyed it. Like, not only enjoyed it, but how much I enjoyed that side of it. Right? I mean, remember, I'd always joke with you, like, I didn't go to Abbot Kinney because I was like, the real Venice people were in the grit and the grime.
And that's how I ended up in Venice in the first place. I came and I visited California, and I was just like, I want to live by the beach, but Santa Monica and Manhattan Beach, it all feels a little too like corporate. It feels a little too clean. It feels a little too Disneyland. It feels a little too like Bubba Gump Shrimp Co. Like, I'm coming from New York. I want some art. I want some grime. I want some, they call Venice where the debris meets the sea. I was like, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Well, no, exactly. So, I mean, look, it all depends. Like, again, I wouldn't want to be raising a little 5-month-old there.
Right.
No. But, at the time, again, it's all relative. I always say, and to this day, the things I miss most are the weather and the food. Right? Like, I'll just be honest. I hate the summers here. Like, I did it the first few. Now I'm like, dude, the humidity and the heat, like, I was really lucky. Right? Like, I can't stand it. That's what I miss is the weather, and then second, the food. I was actually just talking to somebody about this the other day who lived in San Diego for years, and we were laughing about Cincinnati Mexican food. I was just like, dude, don't even. I'm not trying to come across like I'm better or like I'm a snob, but like the idea of Cincinnati Mexican food versus the idea of California Mexican food, it's
and that's and even like the food, like it's one of those things where you hear it a lot from people. Like, I remember, like, even before I moved to California, it's like, oh, I never live in California. The people are so fake, and everybody's fake hair, fake tan, fake. Oh, I can't eat a quinoa kale bowl every day. And you're like, say you've never been, or you can't afford it. That's the truth. Like, dude, I don't eat fucking quinoa ever. I don't eat kale. I'll eat a kale Caesar salad from time to time, but I'm not like vegan. Like, I would say LA is the world's foremost cheeseburger and donut spot. Like, that's probably their, if New York has pizza, I'd say LA's a burger town. LA's a fucking donut town. Like, it's like, and you hear people say, oh, it's a fucking, I'm gonna eat quinoa and be surrounded by human shit. Just say you can't afford it and just leave us alone.
Well, like, I think there's, there's definitely fake elements of California for sure, but I think a lot of, I don't even think it's afforded. My opinion is just, you just haven't been there.
Right.
Right.
I think those people just can't afford to fucking come on vacation even.
It's just like, trust me, I get it. And as someone who lived there for 13 years, when people start shitting on it, I get defensive and I defend it. I'm like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, oh my, like, especially like the traffic one is always funny to me. Like, oh my God, it's like, yeah, it's a big city. Go to Chicago. Like, I like, go to New York, go to Houston, go to Atlanta. I don't like, traffic happens in big cities. Like, I don't know what you want, but I'm glad you went there. Like, I San Francisco, I think, is underrated as far as the natural beauty. Like
San
what,
Francisco's awesome.
like when I was,
Especially San Francisco is like LA too. It's like the shit that's just a couple hours from San Francisco in every direction is insane. You get in your car any day, you go to Napa, you go to Tahoe, you go to fucking Santa Cruz, you go to Carmel, you go to whatever. Not to mention then when you're in the city, I mean, all those city parks, all the stuff along the water, all the Golden Gate shit, all like it's all fucking amazing. What a great food culture, great bar town. Oh man, like San Francisco, yeah, it's underrated. Now, like to me, it's like, again, you talk about the weather in LA. It's like if I got to deal with the cold and then I want that city vibe, I'm always like kind of like I'll just go back to New York. But for a visit, I mean, how many times have we been to San Francisco together?
no, I always liked going up there, and I dated somebody up there, and I always loved when she had to work going for runs. Like that's when I was really running. Like I'm talking like 8, 9, 10-mile runs. I ran across the Golden Gate Bridge. Just there's a lot of stuff to do. I met one of my most famous Bumble people up there. Never forget. Shout out to the Mastiff. If you know, you know. All right, give us a ring. 310-359-8365. That is the hotline. Vikings fans, let us know. What do you think? Kirk Cousins? Do you agree? Or like does not agree? Does this reaffirm what you thought of him? Do you think differently of him? Call into the hotline. We're on social at The Dirty Sports. Follow us on every social, including DMX or whatever is happening now on Twitter.
I'm on all social media at Joe Praino. I will be in New York as soon as this Thursday. Specifically, I will be there for a weekend of gigs at Atlantic City Comedy Club at the Claridge Hotel in Atlantic City, New Jersey. That's August 4th and 5th. 2 shows every night. The great Pete Sestaro will be opening for me. So if you're in Jersey, if you're in Philly, if you're in any area in and around Atlantic City, please come to those shows. Tickets are on sale now. Atlantic City Comedy Club. Google it. Go on my Instagram. Posts are up about it. I just pinned the post with the flyer. So go check that out. Please come to those shows. I will be back in LA after that with a bunch of shows here, and then off to Colorado. Shows in Boulder, shows in Denver, shows in Steamboat Springs. All my shows, joepraino.com/shows. And then we've got Vegas coming up. We've got Alaska coming up. But the big one, following Atlantic City, the big one, and the big one for us here, New Orleans, Louisiana, December 16th. Live 1000th episode of the Dirty Sports Podcast. 2 comedy shows. Giants at Saints. It's going to be a weekend. Tickets should be up for sale soon, but start shopping for your flights. Start planning your road trip now. Andy, we talk a lot about cities, quality of life, New York, LA, Ohio, San Francisco. And the one thing that I know, Andy, is some people have accused me of being a coastal elite and shitting on the Applebee's in the Midwest and all that stuff. And I shit all over Texas. But I'll say this. I think I'm a very open and honest judge of cities. And it's why New Orleans is a city. It's not on the East Coast. It's not on the West Coast. It's not in New York. It's not in California. I could live there. It is arguably one of my favorite cities in the whole world. It's certainly one of my favorite cities in the United States of America. If you've never been to New Orleans, forget. Like, honestly, I it might be New York, LA, New Orleans for me. Like, that might be my top 3 in the United States of America. Might truly a great city. If you've never been, you should come in December when we're there. I'm not even selling the podcast. I'm not selling the live show. I'm not even selling the Caesar Superdome and the Daniel Jones show that we're going to see there. No, come for the city of New Orleans. The food, the atmosphere, the culture, the music, the vibes, the bar scene, the never closing. Mwah, the beignets. Let's go.
All right, you heard it here first. December 16th, New Orleans. All right, guys, that's our show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Thursday. And as always, stay dirty.